I never imagined I'd be the kind of person to tell a ghost story and insist it was real. But what I experienced one summer in rural Pennsylvania changed me forever. Even now, years later, my voice shakes when I try to talk about it. I'm not telling this to entertain anyone. I'm telling it because I don't know what else to do with the memory. It feels like if I keep it inside me any longer, it will rot me from within. It started with a dare. That's how these things always seem to begin, isn't it? We were a small group of friends, all in our 20s, bored out of our minds one late July evening. I was visiting my cousin in a tiny town just outside of Scranton, a place where the streets go quiet after sundown, where the biggest source of entertainment is driving aimlessly or drinking in someone's basement. My cousin Mike decided we needed an adventure. "There's that old place up on Ridgeway Road," he said, grinning across the porch where we sat with a few beers. "The Holloway House. Nobody's been inside for years. Windows are boarded, roofs half caved in. They say the guy who owned it, he didn't exactly die peacefully." I rolled my eyes, but something in his tone grabbed me. "What happened to him?" Mike leaned in a little. "Story goes, old man Holloway lived alone after his wife passed. People in town said he started talking to himself, but not like a crazy person, like he was answering someone. Then he stopped coming into town. A mailman finally reported a smell coming from the house. Sheriff goes in, finds Holloway dead in his chair. Except, get this, his face was all scratched up. Deep gouges like fingernails had torn into him. Problem was, his own nails were chewed down to nothing." I laughed nervously. "That's just some campfire nonsense, right?" Mike shrugged. "Maybe. But the house has been abandoned ever since. Kids break in sometimes. They say you hear things inside. Whispers, footsteps. Like someone's following you, even when you're alone." That was when our friend Jason, always the instigator, spoke up. "So let's go." The others laughed, but I felt that uneasy thrill in my chest. I'd never believed in ghosts, not really. But I'd always been drawn to stories about them. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe stupidity, but I heard myself agreeing. Within half an hour, we were driving down Ridgeway Road in Jason's beat-up Chevy. The Holloway house stood alone at the end of a gravel driveway, half hidden by overgrown weeds and trees. The place looked like it had been rotting for decades. The siding was peeling, the porch sagged, and the windows were black hollows behind boards. A sickly, sweet smell hung in the air, like mildew and dead leaves. "This is such a bad idea," I muttered as we climbed out of the car, but the others just laughed. Mike produced a crowbar from the trunk, and after a few good prees, we had the back door open. The smell hit us harder inside. Mold, rot, something sour that burned the back of my throat. We clicked on our flashlights. The beam caught dust floating thick in the air, glittering like tiny insects. The kitchen we entered looked frozen in time. Rusted pots hung on the wall. A table sat with a single cracked plate still in place, and dark stains marked the warped wooden floor. "Damn," Jason whispered. "It's like he just got up and left." We moved deeper into the house. Every board groaned under our weight. Every corner seemed to breathe shadows. I tried to laugh it off, but my nerves were buzzing. Then we reached the living room, and my laughter stopped. The armchair still sat in the corner, facing a fireplace choked with ashes. The fabric was torn and blackened with old stains I didn't want to think about. A single floor lamp leaned sideways beside it. But it wasn't the chair that made me freeze. It was the wall behind it. Scratches. Dozens of them. No, hundreds. Carved into the plaster. Long, jagged marks, some shallow, some deep enough to gouge out chunks of wall. They covered the space around the chair like some animal had clawed its way toward the man who'd once sat there. "Holy shit," Mike muttered. Jason, of course, went closer, dragging his hand over the grooves. "Could be rats or something," he said, though his voice wavered. That was when we heard it. A sound so soft I thought at first it was in my head. A whisper. Faint, like a breath slipping right past my ear. One word, stretched thin as smoke. Go. I spun around, but no one was near me. The others were staring at the walls. Did you hear that? I asked. Hear what? Jason frowned. I shook my head quickly. Nothing. Forget it. But it didn't stop. As we moved upstairs, the air seemed to grow heavier, colder. The beams of our flashlights shook as we passed doorways and shadow-filled rooms. At one point, Mike cursed, saying he thought he saw someone move across the hall, but when we looked, nothing was there. We finally reached a small bedroom at the end of the hall. The bed frame was still there, mattress rotted and sunken in. A dresser leaned against the wall, drawers open like gaping mouths. On the dresser, under a thick layer of dust, was a small, cracked mirror. Jason smirked and wiped the surface with his sleeve. Mirror game, anyone? He joked. But as the glass cleared, I felt every hair on my neck rise. My reflection was there, but for the briefest instant, it wasn't alone. A second figure stood just behind my shoulder. Tall, thin. Its face was nothing but shadow. I staggered back, heart hammering, nearly dropping my flashlight. Did you see that? I gasped. What? Mike asked. In the mirror. Someone was... I broke off. The mirror showed only my pale, terrified face. Jason laughed nervously. Man, you're freaking yourself out. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But deep inside, I knew better. Something was in that house with us. The whispers grew louder as we searched more rooms. Not words anymore, just a constant hiss, like voices talking just out of reach. And then, upstairs in the hallway, we heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, coming from the staircase behind us. But no one was there. That was enough for Mike. Screw this, we're leaving, he said, and we didn't argue. We moved fast down the stairs, flashlights darting everywhere. The house seemed alive with sound now. The creak of boards, the hiss of whispers, the faint scratching along the walls. When we reached the kitchen again, something slammed. A door. Hard. We froze. My breath caught in my throat. The back door, the only way we'd come in, was now shut tight. Jason rushed forward, yanking at the knob. It's stuck, he yelled, panic rising in his voice. I looked back toward the living room, and that was when I saw it. The armchair. It was facing us now. We had left it angled toward the fireplace, I was sure of it. But now, impossibly, it had turned, its dark-stained fabric aimed right at us like a watching eye. And in that moment, the air split with a scream. Not human, not animal. A sound that ripped through the house and tore into my bones. We bolted, all of us, slamming shoulders into the back door until it gave way, and we tumbled out into the night. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. None of us spoke as Jason drove us away, gravel spitting under the tires. My hands shook so badly I couldn't even hold my phone. That night, I thought it was over. Just a terrifying experience we'd never talk about again. But it followed me. For weeks afterward, I heard whispers in my apartment at night. I'd wake to faint scratching on my bedroom walls. Once, half asleep, I looked toward the corner of my room and saw that same tall, thin shadow standing there, watching me. It never moved. It never spoke. But I knew. It had come from that house. It had chosen me. I don't know why I'm telling this now. Maybe to warn you. If you ever find yourself near Ridgeway Road, near that rotting Holloway House, don't go inside. Because once you see it, once it sees you, you'll never really leave.